This always depends on the undertones of the clients that you're working with primarily. For a while, for me, the best option in terms of the lighter shades of Face Atelier was 0.5, shade 3, and 6, and I used those for a long time. Now I'm still using 0.5 and shade 6, but I have been really liking 2.5. The other thing you are definitely going to want to invest in are the adjusters from Face Atelier. They're beautiful. You're going to need them, especially if you expand the line. The white is one I use all the time. The olive I use all the time. I use all of them a lot, but those are my most used ones. The best thing about working as a makeup artist is you can do whatever you want. There's no rules about what we have to carry in our kit, what we shouldn't be carrying. You do what works for you. If you're a seasoned artist that is strong in color theory and you only want to carry 2 or 3 foundations, go off. Do that, lighten your load, go for it. If you are newer to the industry, building your business, building your reputation, I think this is a huge mistake. Every time you have an opportunity to work on a set, do a job, work with a client, you're building your reputation. We are working in a very competitive industry, and unless 100% you're going to be able to quickly foundation match, color customize all your foundations, 2 or 3 foundations in your kit is a very bad idea. You're going to waste a lot of time. And if you're not strong in color theory, your foundation applications are just not going to be that great. I'm someone that is confident in color theory, but the nature of the work that I do, my clients need me to work fast and they know that I do skin really well. So I have a very wide selection so I can work quick. The RCMA corrector palette is a wax and oil base like the rest of the foundations in the line. Face Atelier is a silicone based product, so technically those two things don't mix. Sometimes in smaller quantities you can get away with it, but I would say do some mixing and adjusting. Try it on yourself first and try it for a couple of days in a row so you can see. You may find they start to separate after a while and the Face Atelier will look like it's sitting on top of the skin if you mix in too much of the RCMA, but experiment with it first. And I would say if you can find the money, just get the Face Atelier adjusters. If you can look in your couch, find some coins, it's worth your money. For the products that I use, I don't find they pill. If something's pilling, there's 2 products in there that are just not agreeing with one another, so you're going to have to remove something. It just sounds like the recipe or the mixture that you have, they're not agreeing with each other. So you're going to have to supplement something, change something up. But I don't find this. I haven't really had this issue. Everything I have in my kit, I'm pretty good about going over ingredients. If I don't know what an ingredient is or I'm not sure if things are going to mix, I will put the ingredient list in ChatGPT and see if they're compatible. I'll ask ChatGPT if they can run through the ingredients for me. So I don't really have an issue with any of my products pilling. It's not something that I run into, but if it does happen, you're going to have to supplement something else and try something new with your oil control regimen or whatever you're using in your kit for that. Oh my gosh, I hate my kit right now. I'm finishing up bridal season, so I'm not doing anything with it until everything's done and things are a little bit more calm. I've been doing a lot of beauty campaigns as well, so it's just all over the place. I have a core kit that I work out of, but then I try to pack for every job. I will put things in, take things out. I will prep certain things just to work more hygienically when I know I'm going to be busy, just to make sure I have the products that I need. And then I have separate bags that I pack extras into, but it's changing up all the time. Right now, I'm not happy with it, but it's just because I'm doing so many different things and I'm working with so many clients and models that are involved in each job that I'm on. So it's a little bit of a mess right now, but I have to find a new way to do things. I'm over depotting. I'm over these brands charging us $1 million for kit bags and depotting supplies. So I'm mad at my kit right now. I'm in the process of trying to think of another way to do things, but I will keep you updated with that when I figure it out. This question I actually wasn't sure about, so I followed up with the artist, and essentially she did, I think it was a one-on-one class with someone where I think it was this makeup artist was teaching this person how to do makeup, and she just wanted to know if it was okay to ask this person to join her for a content day. I ask my clients all the time if they want to film some content, if they want to come to my studio and do that. A lot of them do say no, just so you know, but it's totally fine to do this. We have to find people wherever you can if you are looking at doing content days. So yeah, definitely follow up and ask. And see if they would like a free makeup application in exchange for the content. That's what I do all the time. Before I answer this, it's probably important for me to clarify how my client bookings work. I work in a lot of different areas of our industry. The only time when I'm doing like regular civilian clients is on special events and bridal, and for that I only book about 6 services maximum for myself. I'm comfortable with that. That's about as much as I'm willing to do at this point. So that's my maximum booking per day. For everything else, it doesn't work per model or per person. It's a half day, full day booking. That's the way it goes. And as far as where I'm at right now, I'm not really in a position to be able to afford to turn down work. So I will try to make as much work as possible. But for individual makeup applications like bridal and special events, I have a 6 service maximum that I'll do. If I can and I feel like it, I'll do 7, but that's like really pushing it for me. But normally for my brides, if they get over between 4 and 6, I'll bring a second artist for larger parties. Yes, I always have money saved for taxes, for my HST, and then also for my annual taxes. I live in Toronto. I'm a Canadian citizen, so our tax rate is going to be different, and how taxes go here is different from other places in Canada, around the world, so please keep that in mind. But you should be banking probably 30 to 50% of what you're earning. You need to be able to pay your taxes. Make sure you have a safety net in case you're injured, something happens, you lose a client, you want to have that. If you need to pay for things like health insurance, and there's a lot of other stuff that is going to come up that you're going to need to pay for if you're self-employed. So usually 30 to 50% in the bank, just pretend it doesn't exist. So with brands and PR, it's a combination of PR companies and individual brands reaching out to me, and then I also reach out to brands. But I will tell you, I'm not the best person to get tips on this from, because historically I've had a really hard time getting PR. It's been happening a little more recently now. I'm not sure what magical fairies are working in the background, but I've also been doing a ton of content on all different platforms, so who knows, it might be related, it might just be something else that's happening. But I am getting some free stuff now. I still get turned down by brands quite often, so I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep creating content to help me get in front of more brands, so we'll see what happens. But it's a combination of both. When you get PR, or when I have received PR, the brands aren't talking to me about anything in terms of what they want me to say about the products. They're not paying me to create content. When you get into the more business side of things of creating content, there's going to be things that you can say and you can't say. However, for me personally, I don't want to be in relationships with companies that only want me to spit out positive things. That's not how I've built my brand. My YouTube channel, it was and still is a place where I'm going to give an honest look at how I do things, the products I like, the products I don't like. I'm somebody that's very opinionated. I'm very particular about the makeup I use and don't use. I have a lot of opinions. I'm a little more reserved on social. If you know me in person, you know my personality. I'm trying to get more comfortable with voicing all of this stuff. But with PR, they don't tell you what you say and what you can't say. I thank the brands because I am very appreciative. But as far as the content goes, if I don't like something, I don't feel pressure to say I don't like it. It's not my brand. I also wanted to add and just clarify from the first video. So as of right now, anything you see on my social where I'm thanking a company for something, or I do create a video, I received an Urban Decay palette the other day. I'm going to create a video about that. The brands are not paying me to show the content or create videos for the content at this point. So technically I could say whatever I want. When you go into a business transaction with a brand and there's a lot of money on the line, there is going to be some sort of, not script, but you do have to make sure you're meeting the needs of the brand. And you can do this in whatever way you like. There's a lot of creators and influencers now who are out, who are more vocal. And I think a lot of brands are moving towards working with people who are more honest about their products. I see a lot more honesty now than I have in the past. So I just wanted to be clear about that. When you start getting into the business side of things and you're being paid, what you say, how you say it, the type of content, there is more restrictions on that. But for me right now, I'm just getting free product, talking about it. This is probably going to be a little surprising for you to hear, but I don't come up with any of the looks at all in any way for Velour. They book me for the campaigns. I see the decks, so the marketing plan for each campaign. I see who they've cast, and I see the looks that they want me to do, and I execute the looks, and that's as far as it goes. There is no creative freedom with those shoots at all. Sometimes they'll say, we want to do a color, you can pick purple or blue, and I'll just say, well, based on this model's skin tone, I'll use color theory just to make sure everything looks cohesive, and that's what I do. But as far as the looks for the last, I don't know how many years, it's not been my decision at all. I haven't had input on the looks. I just really do what they need me to do, so I'm there to just execute their vision. I also wanted to add, they're not the only clients that I have that are like this. 9 times out of 10, I have no creative input. A lot of my clients do not ask what they think I should be doing. The only time I really get to play around with certain looks is sometimes on Harlequin when I do the romance novel covers, but generally I'm playing around within like a very small window, but this is quite normal. And I think that's one misconception about working as a makeup artist, that you have all this creative control, and you really don't. A lot of the times we're just, part of the team, and each person on the team has their own responsibilities. Our responsibility is to execute the vision for the brand. So it's common. And for me, it's very common. So for a lot of my clients, I don't choose the looks. I just do what they need me to do. If they have a look that maybe is not quite going to work with a model skin tone, I'll provide feedback and we'll adjust it, but it's still very much the brand's direction. Perfect question to tell you how I really feel about the industry. Here we go. So what I would like to see improve for newer artists or artists in general. So from the brand side and just from the influencer side, I would really appreciate it if people were more honest about how much of a struggle this job is and how hard it is financially. It's very glorified in social media. I don't see a lot of people giving or doing our industry justice. It's such a hard job to do. I would love to see brands doing more pro-friendly things, like more discounts, packaging that allows us to refill more easily. The whole depotting situation, I swear, we're like cannibalizing each other with all these artists who are going so ham on this depotting. There's just so much wrong with it, and it's such an additional cost. As far as newer artists, what I'd like to see, I really wish people worked a little harder. We're not as entitled. I see a lot of new artists that just want to fast track everything. They're not willing to put in the time. They're not willing to get educated. They're not willing to find a mentor. One sec. I don't want to make a sweeping generalization about younger artists or newer artists, because I've worked with a lot of great people, but I see a lot of lazy makeup artists. And I don't know where things are going wrong. I don't know if it's in the education and training. I don't know if people are really willing to learn from more senior artists. There's something off about how artists are learning to be makeup artists, and I can't figure out what it is. And this is one of the reasons why I do my own content. So I would like the education to be better for artists coming in, because I think careers will be built faster, work will improve faster, you'll be more profitable faster with the right education. So with that being said, if there's a makeup artist, just because they don't have 1 million followers, if they're teaching you something or you want to learn something from them, pay them for their time. This whole idea that everything should be free and knowledge should just be free flowing, I don't agree with that. So if there's an artist that you want to learn from, pay to learn from them. Stop learning from influencers who are just being paid to sell you stuff. This was a really good question. Now you can see some of my opinions about the industry. I have a lot. So I think, just to sum this up so we're not letting this drag on for like 10 stories, when influencer marketing started happening in our industry, it created this huge disconnect between what we do, the job of a makeup artist in terms of like what me and you are doing, versus the job of an influencer, and it's two completely separate careers. And there has been something that has happened where information is not getting passed on about what it means to do this job. And that's why I say, when you find artists that are in your market that you want to learn from, and these artists are willing to share a course with you, do a master class, support, these are the people that you need to be supporting, because they're doing the job that you want to do. So I need you to remember that, because I feel like a lot of artists just are not getting their dues in this industry. And yeah, I just hope that things get better for newer artists, because it's a hot mess right now. This is a very good question also. I think when you're taking care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health, the inspiration will be there, because you're living a more balanced life and your mind is not on other things. This job is so difficult, it's so draining, that it can take every last ounce of energy, inspiration, creativity from you if you let it. So really taking care of yourself, making sure you're mentally okay, making sure you physically can do the job, it'll leave you in a much better place overall, and that will keep your mind open to being inspired and being creative and just being awake to what's going on in front of you. For me, because I'm not creative all the time at work, meaning like going back to that question about Velour, I'm just more of sometimes I'm just a makeup artist robot where I just go in and do what I have to do and go home. I like to just make sure I'm looking at other things that creative people are doing, art galleries, movies, just things that keep my brain working. I cannot answer this right now. My kit is a disaster. I was gifted from a friend of mine who's a makeup artist in Toronto the entire shade range of the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, which is why I've been using it for the last year. And now I'm at a point where most of it is gone, and I'm just thinking about, do I want to replenish this? And if I do, what are the shades that I use the most of? So I can tell you this right away. Usually cool undertones are not for me. I don't barely touch them, and if I need a cool undertone, I'll just mix it. I think what I may replenish in NARS are a couple of the neutral shades, like every couple neutrals, and then maybe they have beautiful olive undertone foundation, so I may replenish those. So I don't know right now what I'm going to do. I'm just in the middle of a huge kit reorganization. When I figure it out, I'll let you know. I'll probably do a more detailed video about this, but NARS, their strength is deeper skin tones, olive, and their neutrals are quite nice, but on the deeper end for sure, I would recommend. The thing with Face Atelier is it's a silicone-based product, and I think everyone is so programmed to feel like they have to do 100 skin prep steps and primer and all this stuff every time they do an application, and that's just not true. You don't really need a primer with Face Atelier. If you want to use a bit of a primer and you find that works for you, that's great. Just don't slather it on. Make sure it sets and really has a chance to settle on the skin before you apply Face Atelier over top, just because you get a kind of slip and slide effect with this foundation. With most foundations, when there's too much skin prep, too much primer, you don't really need to slather all of that on. So just enough to get your client's skin ready, give it time to set, and then if you want to apply a little bit of primer, go ahead, but it's not needed with Face Atelier, and then you can apply your foundation. I would just say for me, with my foundation applications in general, I'm not a big fan of primer, and I'm not a big fan of over prepping the skin. It usually gives me a lot of problems throughout my shoots. Once your client's eyes start getting teary, there's really not much you can do. You just kind of have to work around it. So just have Q-tips or cotton swabs handy, cotton pads handy. If your client has teary eyes, I would say you want to work gently around their eye area quickly, and you want to use products that are self-setting waterproof primarily. So you kind of have to switch your approach, especially if you notice your client's eyes getting really watery, even if it's in the middle of a makeup application. When this happens to me, I immediately go into everything waterproof mode. So for eyeshadow, I'm always going to make sure that I have a primer, because that will give you some protection against the watery eye on the lid, and underneath just using a waterproof concealer like Makeup Forever HD is a great example. And as you go, just kind of blotting the tears. You might need to give your client a quick break if they need a second to just rest their eyes. You can do that too. That sometimes helps, but just being cautious and then working quickly and gently with waterproof products helps. This is very much going to depend on how much you have to spend, the market that you're working in, and the type of style of bridal makeup you're doing. My style is very natural. Not everyone has the same style as I do. For me, I think it's really important for bridal to really prioritize longevity. Things that are sweat-proof, waterproof, long-wearing. So the Carpe Skin or sweat absorbing lotion is a great one. Mayron Skin Prep is another option if you can't afford the Carpe. It's a little more inexpensive. Foundations like Face Atelier, Makeup Forever HD is another one. The liquid is another one of my favorites. Concealers, I mentioned in the last story, the Makeup Forever HD concealer is great. Danessa Myricks Color Fix, which is a great waterproof eyeshadow base. And then what else? I love all the Tarte eyeshadow palettes for bridal and setting sprays that really seal in the makeup, like the L'Oreal one, the Kryolan fixing spray that I always talk about, stuff like that.